open to the fact that while I am just getting everything started with you all right now, I am also just going to be in the back end opening up the page so that I can see comments and anything that's going on in that way. So thank you so much for being here today. My name is Kalin, as maybe some of you are aware, and I am hosting today for Business Building Mondays. And I mean, pretty soon I'll probably only be sharing this on the group Thriving Yoga Teachers. So if you aren't a part of that group currently and would like to continue to like see lives and all of that that are a little more, oh, look at, that's my coffee. That's my morning coffee. Business Building Mondays. And this kind of content would be awesome to see you all over there. Um, okay, what we're looking at today. Now, remember we did, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Ryan and I did a live about what are the biggest mistakes that you've made as a yoga teacher. And I thought it was pretty great because there was a lot of conversation about for me, I kind of like did a bunch of things and I didn't really focus on one thing. And for Ryan, he was saying that he wasn't like clear on his ideal client, or like he was clear, but he wasn't like stingy about it, right? He was like, well, if you're a yoga teacher, but also if you use yoga and you're healing, or if you like yoga, then this will do. Um, right. Um, and so one of the other things that he talked about in the live was he was talking about mindset. And I 100% agree with the idea of being aware of your mindset. Um, why? Because if you have negative association with a certain, well, I'm trying to talk to you so I don't lose your interest and share this to another profile. So I just like unitasking is the way to settle our nervous system. So just give me one more minute and then I promise you'll have my full attention. I just didn't want to lose you all, and I can't post to like four places at once. So there we go. And I have modern yoga teacher page on the background to see if anybody's commenting. So there we go. Thanks, everyone. So mindset, if you have a mindset that has a total negative association with money, like you believe subconsciously that, here's a story for you. When I was young, when we grew up, we didn't have a lot of money. We were like low income. And then when I became a teenager, my parents started to bring in like a significant amount of money. And for me, that's when their marriage fell apart. I was like 17. And then both parents have done financially well since they've been apart from each other. Okay. So I remember sitting with my mom one day and we were talking, and she shared to me that the happiest she was with my dad was when they were broke and lived out of the back of a van. And I know that's totally normal nowadays. Like back in the day, right? You can imagine there was probably like a bed in that, or a foamy on the ground. And she said that that was the happiest she'd ever been with my dad. And then without saying much, I see like when they were broke, they were great. And when they had money, they had trouble. So it took me some time to see that that was a story for me. If I have money, then everything else is going to break down around me. Like I can't have money and be happy at the same time. Financial wealth ruins things. Now, if I'm not aware of that and I start making money like I did, I've shared that I quit nursing and quit med school and started teaching full time because I was able to bring in a really good income doing that. What I don't talk about in these initial conversations is the fact that then it was an up and down relationship with finances. I mean, I soared beyond my initial income. Yet, even at my financial peak, I was spending more money than I was making. Like, not only like I could, it was all write off. It was all like retreats and business coaching and website work and this and this and this and this and that and Facebook ads and all these things. And the more money I was making, I felt freer to spend money. But I would tell you the most financially stressed I have ever been is when I have a lot of money. So I need to fix that mindset, right? That's important because if I have money coming in, I'll probably be pretty quick to get rid of it, give it to people, support people, fly my family to see me, fly myself to see my family, but also put all this money into the business because it's making me money. So, what I want to talk about today is a really cool idea of like, how do you know what your stories are? How do you know what your mindset is? And bringing this awareness into like shining the light on this. So, here's a question I ask everyone: why don't you have $1 million? Like, literally, and anybody that's watching, I see there's some people watching. If you don't have $1 million, tell me why. Now because I want to, and please write if you are, don't be like, oh, she's moving on, I'm not going to write. I want to hear it because I can offer you an opportunity to like coach right here. um what I do after someone gives me an answer why is I ask them why again. Okay, cool, why? So someone told me, I just did a retreat a while ago and we did the same work, and someone said, um because I'm not smart enough. Okay. Another person told me that she wasn't lucky. She didn't have any luck. Another person told me because she didn't work hard enough. Um, I think those are the main ones that stood out. It's like, oh, okay, take a moment to think about that. You know, you're not smart enough. Do you think that that's the only thing that she puts this thought towards, that she's not smart enough, is the fact that she doesn't have $1 million? Or do you think there is a possibility that she could probably think that about everything in her life? The reason her relationship wasn't going well is because she wasn't smart enough to pick up on his cues to change her behaviors. The reason that she isn't a good parent is because same thing, she's not smart enough to pick up on her kids' cues. She's not smart enough to know when to put the kid down and take a break. Like it always came back to I'm not smart enough. So there's a story right there. Now, where I go, I'm on Zoom, so I'm able to share my screen, and I call this draw time with Colin. And I'm just making sure that it does go. Oh yes, it does. Okay, great. So I want you to think about yourself like this, okay? You are a person and you have a physical body. That's what this lower circle is, okay? And then you have a head. And when we're looking at head, we're going to talk about your mind. And the reason I put it in the head is because if I ask you, like, where is your mind? Where do you point? Do you point to the body in any way? No, you point to the head, right? So we often associate our mind with our brain. I don't think they're actually the same, but they are associated, right? Because our nervous system is a part of many things. So we have a subconscious mind, and we have a conscious mind, and then we have the physical body. My draw time is great. You're welcome. Okay, so subconscious mind, it cannot accept or reject, it can only accept. So everything it takes is like gold or law, and then and that's it. Even if it's not true, because how are you supposed to know? You're going to see. And then we have the conscious mind that starts to develop around the age of 12, in which we can take in thoughts, we can accept and reject them. Okay, so I'll go deeper into this because what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to start with the subconscious mind. So this is you when you're a baby. Okay, you're wide open. You are learning how to hold your head up. Like that's what you've got to do in a day, right? So as you are living and learning, you're also taking in information. So let's think about you specifically. Who are you taking your information from? So for me, I have my mom, I have my dad, and I had a lot of involvement from my grandparents. I also watched the news a lot because I was born in 1979. So news was a big part. I played video games, but those are probably when I'm older. So as an infant, this is where I'm getting my resources from. I've got my dad, I've got my mom, I've got like, let's just say TV, radio, and what else did I say? And the news. And we go. And then I have my grandparents. So you're a baby, you don't know anything. I want to ask you something. How do you learn how to walk? How do you learn how to put on your pants? Right? You have to be shown. You don't just like do it. Like you don't just like you're a baby and you put on your own pants, right? So you living everything that you believe, all your values, everything that you think, it's been taught to you. Everything. And it's cool if you don't have to agree with me if you don't want to. I'm not like starting an argument or telling you this is how it is. How about this is my line of thinking and my line of coaching. And and then that's it. And if you don't like it, then that's cool. You don't have to. Okay. So think about that. Everything that you believe, all your values, everything that you think, it was all taught to you because you were a little baby and there was nothing in there. What I'm told, like spiritually, is that we're born with the knowledge of us, like formless. So, what do we know as formless? We know love. So, what do we come down here? We know love. We're connected to like our soul. You know, we're yoga teachers. The idea within yoga is reincarnation. So, and then what happens is these people get involved and they teach us otherwise. And since we can't talk and we're just learning how to talk, we have to learn how to talk. And while we're learning how to talk, we're actually like information about previous lives kind of like go to the wayside because we're more focused on other things. One of those things being taught, like our environment, is true. So just throwing that out there. And this might be mind blowing, or maybe you've done this work before and you're like, yeah, get on. Get on with it. Okay, so you're an empty vessel and then you're taught. So let's just to save your parent, like you some heartache with your parents. It's not like your parents are just like, listen, I'm really gonna mess this kid. I'm gonna fuck this kid up. They are only repeating what they were taught, especially if they never became conscious to the fact that they were taught it. Okay. So your parents, whatever they taught you, it's because they didn't know better. They didn't know any better. You don't know what you don't know. So now you have the opportunity to know what you don't know. Just like the story I shared with you about money equaling unhappiness. So think about it also like less emotionally and more like learning how to put on your pants. I want you to think about this. When you were born, did you know how to put on your pants? No, you did not. Right? Do you remember? I'm asking you a question right now. Do you remember the day that you were taught to put your pants on? Do you remember your parents like saying, you know, put your right leg in the hole and then pull it up to your knees and then hold it there and then like put the left leg into the hole and then like pull both up now. But right? No, you didn't. Because how it happened was you were born and then you were put in clothes. You were put in diapers and you were put in onesies and maybe gowns. And your parents, grandparents, whoever was around you, put on your pants for you. Okay, so for probably a couple years until you start putting on your own pants, give or take, for sake of argument. So you spend 2 years not only having your pants put on you, but like also when you're aware that there's more than just you, you see your parents putting their pants on, maybe siblings putting their pants on. You start to become aware of the experience of putting your pants on. And then something happens and one day you put your own pants on. This is how emotional your thoughts are. They're not purposely like given to you because you deserve to live a crap life. It literally is just that this is how it's gone, and people have been unconscious to it for a very long time. So I'm going to share my stories because I'm very clear of them. We have several stories, and it's really beneficial to become aware of them so that, like, as I grow financially, that I'm aware of my propensity to spend and therefore can come up with some type of a process to go through when I'm going to buy something. Like, do I need this? Can I get this later? Like, is this of immediate financial benefit to me? So that when I'm about to buy something, I have this thing so I don't just go into trauma response or an emotional pattern, or as we know it in yoga, a samskara, right? A repeated kind of like scratch in the record that the record player just goes back to all the time. When I'm aware of it, and I've taught myself, like, oh, I'm going to buy something, bring out the process, then I'm able to be more present to my purchasing instead of being unconscious to the fact that I'm just getting rid of money. So I don't have it. So I'm not unhappy. I'm hoping this makes sense. So I want you to think about, why don't you have $1 million? What was the story there? And for me, I didn't even, I found these stories out long before I figured out why I have $1 million, or why I don't have $1 million. And I started to become aware of, like, as we meditate, here's something that I know I come all over the place. Welcome to it. That's me. Or this is how I behave. Um, uh, and then I lost my train of thought. So even better, becoming aware of the thoughts that we have. I just, it's not that it was about $1 million. It was just like meditating supported me in recognizing where my mind goes to a lot. And a lot of people say to me, I'm not good at meditating. It's like, oh, yeah. And like, who is? Like, were you born walking? No, you have to keep practicing that shit. You want to get good at it. So for me, it was in meditation that I started to realize that when I quieted all the external stuff, Satyahara, right? Limb number 5. Um, as I started to remove all the external stuff, then I was able to listen to what was going on inside of my head. And what was going on was like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. And I'm pretty sure that came from my mom, right? There's always this like overall root, I would say, of I am not good enough. But like that's so general and it's related to, I swear, everyone. So of the I am not good enough is that I'm not doing enough. If we look at my mom and we look at my grandparents, they're both immigrants. They both came from England, and all of them have always worked very, very hard, and not for other people, but for themselves as entrepreneurs or artists. So can you see how, like, well, maybe not. What my experience was that my grandparents always had a store. My mom would work with my grandparents. My grandfather was an electrician. My grandmother also managed, like, remember Eaton's and Sears? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but there are these big department stores that also had like restaurants in them. And my grandmother often would like manage these Eaton's restaurants, these Sears restaurants. And so And my mom worked with my grandparents because also they had two jobs. So it was like they each had two jobs. So my mom had two jobs and kids. So there was never really a break. Like any kind of downtime is selfish, unwarranted, doesn't make you money. So there wasn't like this teaching of self-care or taking a break or anything like that. It was always like do more, do more, do more, be more. We need money, we need money, we need money. So I know one of my stories is I'm not doing enough. And I mean, as I sat and I meditated with myself, what else would come back was my physical appearance. I have the biggest one being up until more recently was that I'm fat. Like that's it. That's what I got. I am fat. I am so far from perfect. I'm ugly. I am disgusting. I mean, why don't we just change it to be what it is? Sometimes I don't want to do it because I like don't love remembering that I felt that way about myself. But it really was like I'm disgusting. And right, here's the thing. Look at we haven't hit 12 years of age yet. How do I know? Okay, I just explained to you by watching my mom and grandmother how that I'm not doing enough came. I'm from my dad. I definitely came up with this. Um, I am discussing based on several different things. First of all, a conversation I had with my dad when I was 6, in which he said, so what if you're a couple pounds overweight? Now, see, this as an example as to why we can't maybe hold it against our parents is I did talk to my dad about that like 2, 3 years ago, and he remembers the day. And the most incredible thing is that he was saying that to me because my sister, a year younger, was skinnier than me. She was prettier than me. I know that's subjective, but remember, I'm a kid. And people constantly would say, like, Meredith is so beautiful and Meredith should be a model and, all of that and not about me. So from that, my dad was aware that this was happening and figured clearly I wasn't going to be like him or her. Her and my brother and my dad all have like one of those bodies that you can literally eat crap and still have a six pack. And my mom and I's body is not like that. If you eat crap, you will have the exact opposite. You will have a keg. So, so he was actually saying that to me when I was 6 as a way so that I would never like be anorexic or like compare myself to my sister because we're not comparable. But I did not take it that way. And then on top of it, it's not like it was just one conversation. Remember the putting on the pair of pants, these couple of years of witnessing. And then once you start to put on your own pair of pants, it's not like you're just perfect at it, right? You need more repetition. So my dad said things like the perfect woman has a thigh gap. My dad one time told me this woman had a perfect body and she was actually in an eating disorder rehab. She was 6 foot tall and she was like 99 pounds. She was very skin and bone. And you can imagine, well, maybe you can't imagine, but I remember that I just took that like so personally. Like, if she's perfect, then I'm disgusting because I'm nothing like her. And clearly, I never will be. I will never be that thin. My bones are bigger than hers. So, can you see how these stories start to become like a part of our reality? And if we aren't aware of it, then I just hated myself for so long and I would put be in situations with people that I probably shouldn't have been. I have a third story, and that story is I am unlovable. And that comes from being young and having a young, overwhelmed mom, and not treating me the way that I wanted to be treated, and I was the other people's parent. And so I base this off of um, hearing something like only the face a mother could love, and then thinking, well, that means the mothers love their children, and then thinking my mom doesn't love me. So here's my story. as if I believe, without even knowing it, I believe I'm unlovable, what kind of partner do you think I'm going to attract in? And how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's not just going to be a partner. What kind of clients do you think I'm going to call in? What kind of clients do you think I have called in? Uh, Especially when I would work with anyone, like biggest mistake is a yoga teacher. Then I'm being abused by my clients and I'm in trauma response because that's what I'm used to. That's my samskara. I'm not even aware that I'm in that response because I'm not even aware that I have a subconscious belief that I'm unlovable. Right. So this is about personal responsibility. It's not about blaming everybody and everything. It's about just becoming aware of the stories that have been created in here because that's it. They're stories. They're not true. They're not true. They're not true. You're not fat. You're not stupid. You are doing enough. You are totally lovable. Like whatever your story is. So what let's get to the age of 9 to 12 years old. And I'm gonna remove a couple of these guys here just so that we can kind of like have a little more space. Mom, dad, and then I remove I am not doing enough. I am not doing enough. There we go. Can I move it? Yes, I can. Great. There we go. Okay, so now you are 9 to 12 years old. Boom. Sealed in. Now you start to develop a conscious mind, right? Think about being a kid. How often did you think, like, I shouldn't do this because? No, it took years of domestication. I feel like that's the wrong word. Domestication. Maybe it's domestication. Oh my gosh. I have an education. Um, Domestication. Anyway, being raised by my parents to find out like eventually that maybe I shouldn't do that because I might get hurt. Yet as a kid, that wasn't like something I let in because I mean, I feel as a child I was pretty invincible. I wasn't aware of all the scary things in the world. I was just like a kid and I was having a good time. So clearly I don't have a lot of conscious thoughts. So at some point you develop a conscious mind and now you're able to think a little more consciously. So maybe it's confusing, but let's use this as an example. If you believe you are unlovable, and then your partner comes up to you and says, you are so gorgeous. What do you think that you do with that thought? Boom. Remember, the conscious mind can accept or reject, right? So often, if my partners would tell me that I was beautiful, it was like because they wanted something. Like, what do you want? Because I didn't know it, but I didn't believe I'm disgusting. There's no way that you can think that I am beautiful. You're just saying that to make me feel better. I'm like, oh, I'm healing myself around this because it this is what so 99% of the population is doing right now. They're not aware. But they're like being incredibly mean to themselves on a regular basis without even realizing it. So here's the other thing. Let's just say I'm in a fight with my partner and he tells me I'm the worst person he's ever met. I'm so disgusting. Guess what? I'm going to believe that, right? Because that's what I believe. So when, let's say we get in a fight, he says a bunch of mean things and we get back together, tells me I'm beautiful. This is for me, maybe you don't experience it, but a lot of the time my head would go to like literally last week, you just told me I was disgusting and terrible. So you're saying beautiful because you want to like, you want some, right? And have you ever had that experience? I keep looking down to see if anybody's like making comments on the page. I know that it's business building Mondays, and you're like, what does this have to do with business? I think it has a lot to do with business, as I've shared not only from a personal experience, but also a financial experience as well. Like we were broke when I grew up. We didn't have a lot of money. So, and I do have good memories. I have memories of water fights, and I mean, we went and did things still, even though we didn't have money. And then once my parents were working all the time, we didn't do anything. What we had to do as kids, my sister and I, is like work. We had to sweep the driveway and clean up a shop burnt. We had to clean up the shop. Like that's what we did now. And we had to do it, not our parents with us. They were teaching us work ethic, but they weren't there with us, right? So if you can look at like, oh, what do you think I'm going to do with money based on unconscious beliefs around money, right? Money is the root of all evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. What, like, nothing easy is worth it. What do you think you're gonna do with that? So I this is where I'm gonna stop for today. So here's your homework for next Monday. All right. Your homework is to come up with your three stories. What are they? One, two, and three. And then we'll go deeper into this. I mean, how you do anything is how you do everything. So once we start to work on one aspect of your life, and it could be business. That's the beautiful part that I tell people in coaching. It's not like we have to go through every single thing in your life and then you have to make conscious changes in all of them. No, you just have to focus on one area and start to make shifts in that area, and you will then make shifts in all the areas. I talk about teaching yoga, like I teach yoga teacher training, and I talk about it the exact same. Like how you teach your yoga class is how you live your life. What you do on the mat, you do off the mat. So think about yourself in a vinyasa practice. How are you in a vinyasa practice on your mat? And how are you in life off your mat? How are you in a restorative class on your mat? How are you outside of restorative class off your mat? So if we focus on one area and start to shift, change, or be conscious in that area, which was the first step, awareness, then this is going to start to happen throughout. All right. I am so excited to have had you guys. Thank you. I know there were like two consistent people on, and I appreciate having you and seeing you. I'll be sending an email with this video if you want to watch it again, or join the group, all the stuff. And I will be seeing you tomorrow. So thanks for coming.